Welcome to Start Before You're Ready, the podcast that proves that you don't need to wait for the perfect moment to begin your journey towards better health and happiness. I'm your host, Kelly Young. Remember, the first step is often the hardest, but it's always worth taking. Hey guys, it's Kelly. By the time you're listening to this, it's most likely the new year or you're thinking about the new year. And I thought that this would be a perfect podcast today to talk about tips to kickstart your health and fitness. And this isn't like a program or anything specific, but it's just tips to kickstart your health and fitness, things that you can start right away to start getting better. And I'm going to go rapid fire here and run through them and give you some examples. And I'd love to hear from you afterwards if any of these resonated with you in particular, or if you'd like to go into a little bit more detail. A tip number one is to change the way you identify yourself. And I know I've already talked about James Clear on this podcast and his book, Atomic Habits. I believe so strongly in that simple principle of changing your identity, like just slowly doing things to become more of the person that you want to become. So I often hear people say, I do really good when I have a plan or I'm in a certain mode of eating, but otherwise I'm not very, very good. I don't want you to think that way anymore. I don't want you to identify yourself as someone that only does well when you're on a plan. I want you to think about yourself as someone that's pretty good most of the time. It might feel like a subtle difference, but it's that all or nothing mentality that really gets people into trouble. And when you're trying to do something that involves your health, the only way it's going to really be significant is if it's something that you keep doing. So you need to change that mentality of having to be on a program. You need to slowly adopt to your program or a plan that makes sense for you. Because all diets work, guys. People will say, what do you think of a carnivore diet? What do you think of low carb? What do you think of keto? Yes, they all work. You're going to lose weight on all of them. Guaranteed, you start restricting, you're going to lose weight. But are you going to do that forever? Are you going to go the rest of your life without eating a carb or without eating a vegetable? I hope not. I really hope not. Carbs and vegetables are the same thing, by the way, but you get the idea. There's nothing good about something that restricts you. There's nothing good about something that restricts you. It is not the way to move your health in the right direction long term. If you're looking for short-term change and you just want to do something for a little while, to lose weight for a little while, then okay, great. I can make that agreement with you. But if you're truly, truly trying to make significant change and move your health in the right direction, it's got to be something that you can keep doing. It's so boring for me to say that. And I've been saying the same thing for decades, but it's true. It's true. It's true. And I've slowly seen some of my students and boot campers adopt this mentality, and it's so powerful and they're so successful. And I just want that for everybody. The next thing is, instead of thinking of yourself of somebody that needs to go on a diet, start to think of yourself as a person that makes healthy choices most of the time. Okay. And we talked about this a little bit in the beginning, but there's a difference. You're not on a diet. You're not in a deprivation. You're not being deprived. You're being healthy. You make healthy choices most of the time. There's such a difference for sustainability with those two things. And I think that is what we really want to try to move ourselves towards. So we're not perfect. We don't make healthy choices all of the time. But most of the time, if we're at a restaurant and we can choose between two items that we both enjoy, and one has a higher, one we know is going to be a little better for us, then we choose the healthier item most of the time. Sometimes you're going to have that favorite item that it doesn't have a lot of redeeming benefits, health benefits, but it's your favorite thing and you're going to enjoy it. We're going to get more to that later. So when you're faced with decision with what to eat, one of the things that you want to say to yourself is, what would a healthy person do? What would a healthy person decide on? This tip, change the way you identify yourself. The real biggest thing is you decide the type of person that you want to be. Are you healthy-ish? Are you diehard? You just kind of put yourself in a category as far as like how extreme you want to be. I don't like extreme. I don't consider myself extreme. I would say I'm ish. I would use the ish word for myself. I make good decisions most of the time. I'm not perfect. Decide the type of person that you want to be and prove it to yourself with small wins. That's making that decision to order the healthier thing, to have water first thing in the morning, to take those extra steps, to get that workout in even on the days that you don't feel like it. Those are all small wins that will help you prove to yourself that you have the power to become a healthier person. Tip number 2 is actually probably one of my favorites, especially for the new year, and especially if you're the type of person that is a little bit in flux with how you like to do things. Not saying that you're on or off, but you're maybe in flux. You have seasons where you're a little bit more hardcore. Maybe January is going to be a season of being a little bit stricter. I know I usually reel it in a little bit, especially after the holidays. And that tip is to create a list of personal rules. I think we do our best work when we don't really think about what we have to do. And that's why if you can create a list of rules that you don't have to refer to, you don't need to look them up in the book, you just know, I don't do that on this day or whatever it is, you will be so successful. Because making decisions can be exhausting. Thinking about, should I have that? Should I have a drink on a Thursday night? Or should I have dessert after dinner tonight? I feel like we can create a lot of negative emotions around those decisions, like, oh, I'm being bad or I'm being this. But when you have a list of personal rules that make sense to you and that you're willing to adhere to, unless a specific event comes up, you are so much more likely to be successful. So here's my suggestion with personal rules. Start with a few and build upon it. So if you've never had a list of personal rules, I don't want you to create a list of 10 rules. I don't want you to create a list of 8 rules. I want you to create a list of 3 or 4 rules, or even 2 or 3 rules. Let's talk about what a personal rule might look like. A personal rule would be something that you are committed to doing most all the time, except on special occasions, ongoing. So a personal rule could be around having protein for breakfast. Like I always eat 30 grams of protein for breakfast. I have a personal rule around having vegetables for breakfast because for me, I like to have that insurance. I like to know first thing in the morning, I'm getting at least 2 or 3 vegetables in. I enjoy vegetables and I like the way my food tastes better when they're enhanced with vegetables. So that's just a personal rule. Even when I'm traveling, I kind of make a quest of trying to have vegetables for breakfast. And it usually sets me up. And usually it's not, vegetables you get in an omelet or whatever it is. It's not a ton of vegetables, but it just kind of gives me that parameter. I really like it. Another personal rule that you might want to think about is your sleep. What time do you want to go to bed most of the time during the week? Or maybe ideally you'd have a set bedtime all the time, but I think that there should be a little bit of flexibility on the weekend. But so coming up with an ideal bedtime, and this is something I'd say if you're going to put it as a rule, it's something you're committed to doing at least 80% of the time. Rules can be broken, like, okay, there's a special occasion. I'm going to be out on these nights this week or this night this week. But to have a basic bedtime and adhere to it, or a specific nighttime routine. You could have rules around how many times. A lot of people have sweet tooths. This is something I hear over and over again. Kelly, every time I eat, I want something sweet after, or I don't crave real food, I crave sugar. So if you're trying to create some boundaries around how much sugar you're consuming, I think a personal rule is a great way to do it. One of the suggestions that I make to my students that I know struggle with having a sweet tooth is to not have desserts in your home. To have sweets be something that you enjoy outside of the home, meaning that you have to go to a specific place to get it. So you really, really want it and you really enjoy it. But maybe you want to create a rule for yourself that says, I'm allowed to have 3 desserts a week, or maybe it's a certain amount of something. Like I like to have those little Bouchard chocolates, and truth be told, I do have them pretty regularly after meals, but I never have more than 3. Like typically I'll have like 2 or 3, and they're just little chocolates, it's dark chocolates, low sugar. So I'm fine with that rule. But you might have to be a little bit more loose or a little bit more open to create a rule that's going to help you. But any rule that moves your health in the right direction is a good rule. So again, water consumption, make sure that you're drinking a full glass of water before you put anything else in your body. That's a great rule to have if that speaks to you. Drinking a certain amount of water every day is a great rule. Eating a certain number of plants, eating a certain number of vegetables a day is a great rule. Grams of protein a day is a great rule. Anything that you feel like is going to help, that's a great rule to have. And when you're thinking about what foods you want to avoid, think about what foods you love. Instead of always thinking restriction, I think people naturally go to, like, when they're trying to be healthier, I can't have this, this, and this. Well, think about it a little bit different. Think about what are your favorite healthy foods. Like for me, I love avocado, I love salmon, I love sweet potatoes. There's so many healthy foods, arugula, spinach, that I just love. I actually love them. They taste delicious to me, and those are foods that I crave and enjoy. So when I start to think about moving towards being a healthier person or having the healthier foods that I like, I think about the foods that I like. I think about the healthy foods that I like. I don't think about the unhealthy foods that I like. I try to keep things on the more positive end. So creating that list of rules, again, it could be 2 or 3 to start. Pick the things that you think are going to have the most likely staying power, that you're going to most likely be able to keep doing, and stick with those. I have rules for myself. I try to have rules around alcohol. I don't drink during the week. I try to limit my alcohol consumption to weekends. For me, I have a rule about exercise. I like to exercise or move every day. It could be a walk or even a vigorous house clean, but I don't love a day where I'm sedentary. I just don't feel great mentally and physically when I'm sedentary. I also have a rule that I go to yoga every week. Unless there's something really that I have to go to or that is like a special occasion, I'm not going to miss my weekly yin yoga class. I also have the rule I talked about earlier about eating a vegetable at every meal. I think that's really important. Another fun rule I have, this one I don't really think about anymore. It's funny because a lot of my rules I don't even have to think about anymore. But I do not waste calories on foods I don't love. If it's not my favorite thing, I'm not eating it, like pizza crust. Or if I take a bite of a cookie and it's not like my favorite cookie, I'm not going to eat it. I don't care. I want to only eat foods that I love. So for me, I have plenty of foods that I love, so that's not a big deal. But that's just one of the rules that I adopted for myself. So I didn't feel guilty, like if oh, I took a bite of this, I should eat it. No, I don't eat foods that I don't love. So if it's not my favorite thing, I don't have to eat it. Tip number 3, this is a really, really good one, and I hope you can find a way to apply this because I know it will work for you if you really are strategic with this, and it's habit stacking. So this is taking something that you already do every single day and attach a new behavior that you want to do on top of it. So the first thing that comes to mind to me is brushing my teeth. So if I want to make sure that I'm taking supplements every day, I know I'm going to brush my teeth. I'm not going to leave the house. Very unusual for me to leave the house without brushing my teeth. So if I put my supplements right next to my toothbrush, I am going to do it. So that would be a way to make sure that I'm taking those supplements because that's just going to attach those 2 things, and the habit of taking the supplements will go along with brushing your teeth. Another example is packing your lunch when you clean up for dinner. This is something that I just think is so easy, and I don't know why everyone doesn't do it. I always make enough food for leftovers. There's always leftovers. And I try not to dress salads, and I try to make things so it's very easy for me to just take what we had for dinner. And usually I have a salad for lunch, so just take a salad and take what we had for dinner and put it on top of it and make that ready to go for the next day, or maybe even a couple of days, or maybe even a couple people in my family. So stacking cleaning up dinner dishes with packing your lunch for the next day. It's just so easy. It goes hand in hand. Sometimes you can just take all the leftovers and turn them into a couple lunches. This is another one that I started when I wanted to make sure that I was drinking. I was not successful with having water first thing in the morning. I like to have coffee first thing in the morning. And I really wanted to make sure that the first thing I was putting in my body was water. I don't drink a full glass of water, but I try to take at least about a half a glass of water before I have a sip of coffee. So when my coffee's brewing, I fill my water bottle. We have a really nice water bottle dispenser, and I always fill my water bottle, and then I drink a little bit of it, 3 or 4 sips, and then I fill it again. So I have it for my class. But that's just a habit. I don't even have to think about that anymore. That's just something I do automatically. I'm going to drink my coffee. There's zero chance I'm going to walk into the day and not have any coffee. So filling up my water bottle while my coffee's brewing is just a really easy habit to have. Another example, this isn't something I do in particular because I don't work at a desk all day, but if you're trying to get more movement in, then as soon as you shut your computer down or as soon as you finish your workday on, you put on your walking shoes and you go for a walk. Just attach it to something that you know you're going to finish work. If you create that habit, even if it's just a 10-minute walk, if you're just trying to move more, that could be an incredibly beneficial habit for so many reasons, kind of like taking the transition from your day into your home life and putting a walk in between. That could be a really great transition. Another example of habit stacking would be you're going to go to bed every night. So if you want to be more deliberate about writing in a journal, that could be a time that you do it, like right before you're going to go to bed. It's something you have ready, it's prepared, and you create that habit. Another habit stacking, and this is one that it's probably a hard time of year, admittingly, to do this. But when people come to me for weight loss and they're not necessarily looking to start an exercise program, one of the suggestions that I make to them is to go for a walk after dinner every night. And I tell them, listen, don't overthink this. You do not need to be in workout clothes to go for a walk. All you need to do is have walking shoes on. So after dinner, after the dishes are done, or even before the dishes are done, just go outside and walk. Say you're going to walk for 10 minutes. I bet you walk for longer. But that is a great thing to pair together with eating. So after you eat, moving your body, creating the habit of going for that walk. Especially, maybe you go for a walk with your family members or your spouse. So, you're maybe at the dinner table talking and it's like, oh, why don't we just walk and talk? That's a great way to do it. I would probably do the dishes before because then I would be like, oh, I don't want to do the dishes when I get home, but I don't like doing the dishes. So, all right, we're going to move on to tip number 4. I think I'm going to give you 5 tips today. I think 5 is going to be a great number, and then maybe we can share this another time if you guys find these tips beneficial. They're all things that I shared before. They're not very original, but they're tried and true. Like, this is kind of my list of like, okay, if I had someone that said, Kelly, I really need help, I would say, okay, try these things. These are the things that I want you to think about. But I would not, okay, I should have said this in the beginning. I just realized I should have said this in the beginning. I wouldn't tell them to do all of these things. I would say, hey, listen, I'm going to give you a list of things that I know work, things that are tried and true. They're simple and they will move your health in the right direction. But I don't want you to do all these things. I want you to listen to the list and pick the 1 or 2 that you think is doable. Like the one you're like, yeah, I could do that. Okay, I could do that. Or that sounds like something that would really help me. And pick that 1 or 2. You're not picking all of these, okay? You're not picking all these. I'm giving you 5. You pick 1 or 2. If you're already doing 4 of them, then you pick the one that you're not doing and you add to it. That's the whole idea. The whole idea for true success is adding to it, doing things successfully, and then adding more things on. It works. I promise. I wish it was more exciting and I wish it was more sexy, but it's not. It's just boring, cumulative, but it works. It works. And it's really fun to see my students have success. And some of them will say, Kelly, like I've been trying to be successful with, we'll talk about this next tip, which is food prepping forever. And I never really nailed it. But now that I don't think about it as something that's like a day event, that I just think about something that I could do like one evening or 1 hour, I'm successful with it. And I just love that. That just lights me up to know. So we're going to talk about tip number 4, which is food prepping. First part about this is do not overthink this. This doesn't need special containers. This is not a full day's event. This is something that you just do when you come home from the grocery store. You just start to prep some of the food that you bought. Maybe it's washing the vegetables. Maybe it's putting them in containers that make them attractive. Maybe you marinate your chicken, or you boil your eggs, or you put things away in a certain way that just makes it so it's like one step closer. Prep to me is one step closer to having the end result that you want. So some of the things that I do is when I come home from the store, I try to wash everything, especially like berries and things that I know there's potentially a yuck in. And what I mean by that is like that one rotten berry on the bottom. So I open everything. I buy most of my food at Costco just because I have a large family and I just enjoy shopping there, and it works really well for us. I know that's not what works for everybody, but one of the things that I've learned as a Costco shopper, nobody loves Costco more than me, but they, like anywhere, you could buy a bag of lemons and there could be a yucky lemon in the middle. So one of the things that I've learned is open up all the bags, the potatoes, the lemons, the onions, the garlic, all of it. Don't leave it in their bags. Open it up, make sure there's nothing yucky in there. I have displays for my fruits and vegetables. I have two, one for my fruits and one for my vegetables. I posted it one time on Instagram, and I don't know why, but it seriously got like more likes and shares than anything. But there was a lot of negative comments like, oh, you're not supposed to keep avocado next to your potatoes or tomatoes. I was like, what? I didn't know any of that. I still don't care. I'm pretty particular about my food. If it had an off taste because an avocado was next to a potato, I think I would notice. I have a whole system with my avocados where I leave them out, and then when they're a certain amount of brightness, I eat them or move them to the refrigerator. I think I do really good with that. But I do display my fruits and vegetables, and I like to have them out where I can see them. I think that helps with your likelihood to eat them. So another tip is to take that one step further and to cut them. Like if it's the asparagus and you want to cut off the tips, or Brussels sprouts and you like to cut them in half, to cut them. Only if you're going to be using them in a couple of days. I wouldn't cut Brussels sprouts and asparagus like days in ahead. But I have a system usually where once I get out the cutting board, I'm like, what else needs to be cut? Like I need to cut everything in the house. I don't know if anybody else is like that. Marinating the chicken, that is a great idea, or marinating whatever your meat is, or taking it out of the bags, or whatever makes it easier for you when you go to eat that. Another thing that with food prepping is I really batch cook. I cook a lot of like when I cook the chicken from Costco, I cook it all. I cook the whole family pack. Even my family's not going to eat all that chicken in one meal, but I usually let it sit and then I'll cut it into slices. And that's one thing that we pretty much always have. So if the kids are making salads or quesadillas or chicken and rice or whatever it is, they have that chicken ready. Trying to be a little bit more creative and having some other foods ready that are good protein sources as well, but just trying to do little bits at a time. So if you're roasting vegetables, fill up the pan at least. I usually roast twice. Like if I'm going to roast, I'm going to roast twice. But whatever you're doing, make extra. Roasted vegetables go everywhere. They go in eggs, they go in salads, they go in a stir fry. There's nothing you can't do with a roasted vegetable. And in my personal opinion, it's the absolute easiest way to prepare them and the most delicious. So those are just a few examples for making food prepping easier, doing it all at once. Like when you come home, roasting or doing everything all at once. Or not necessarily, I shouldn't have said all at once. So doing it when you're doing it, when you're doing something else. Oh, I've got this pan out. I just roasted chicken. I'm going to roast up another pan of vegetables type thing. That's just, to me, really convenient. And I really think food prepping has a lot to do with displaying your food. I talked about keeping my fruits and vegetables out. I have to have the clear glass containers in the front of my refrigerator that have the foods that I want everybody to eat. The foods that are the vegetables and the protein and the cleaner foods, because we're all going to find the foods that we're not supposed to eat. But if we make the ones that we want to eat more of, the most convenient, we're more likely to get them. And another thing about food prepping, guys, is have a few emergency prepared foods ready to go. And this might not be something that you make. This might be a bag of chicken stir fry with vegetables, or a frozen bag of vegetables and a rotisserie chicken, or a can of chicken, or I'm saying chicken too much chicken. No one wants all this chicken. Can of tuna, anything that you're like, okay, I don't have time to make anything right now. I need something that's got, a good source of protein. What are those go-to things? There's a lot of semi-prepared. It's not your best option. And yeah, I usually pay a little bit more, but I always say something like that is so much better than takeout because first of all, it's not going to be as expensive as takeout. And second of all, you're so much more in control. You can take that and mix it with something clean and fresh, or you can just have whatever portion of it, you know what's in it. It's just great to have a few emergency prepared foods ready to go. Again, better than takeout. It doesn't even have to be perfect. I've got lots of like soups. Sometimes I buy the Costco pre-made soups and I'll add like fresh vegetables and chicken to it. And I'm like, that's just a perfect meal. And it's easy. It's so easy. And the soup in itself is not bad for you per se. I mean, a lot of them are crafted, handmade soups. They just, they're processed because they're packaged, but they're a little bit saltier. They don't really have a lot of chicken, or they don't have a lot of protein, or they don't have a lot of vegetables in it. So I just add what I want them to have more of. And that's actually one of my best tips that I just gave you. So you are welcome. Okay, tip number 5. And this is probably a good way to end with, a good one to end with today. And that is your emotions around food. I think this is really, really important. And I know that it's something that a lot of people struggle with, and I know it's something that I struggled with. This is something that I have had to overcome, and I'm still a work in progress. Like anything, we're never perfect. Anything that we had to overcome, it's still something that we're always going to work on. But talking about your food in a positive way. So, for example, last night, we had little mini ice cream sundaes with homemade hot fudge sauce. And I would say to my family, oh, we're going to have this, fattening dessert and it's so unhealthy. And here we go. I say, this is homemade hot fudge sauce and this is a treat and this is something that we're all going to enjoy. So we want to make sure that we're not saying the food that we're about to eat is bad, even if it's not healthy, even if it's bad. Don't talk about it being bad, okay? If you're choosing to eat it, then enjoy it and don't talk about it as being bad. If it's a treat, feel free to put some positive emotion around it. I'm going to love this treat. Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. I'm having one of my favorite foods. I don't eat it very often, but I really enjoy it when I do. That's the kind of talk I want you to have around your food, not, oh my God, I'm being so bad. I'm going to have this. That's not a healthy relationship with food. We want to think about food as something delicious and something that we enjoy. And even when it's not our best choice, we don't want to say bad things about it. Okay. If we're putting it into our body, we need to think positive things about it. Another thing kind of around the emotions with food is thinking about your relationship with food. Like, I think we all have issues from our childhood or issues from just things that we've created, anxiety around food, and really trying to mend those relationships, trying to think about how you can not have those negative emotions around whatever type of food that you're eating. And pay attention to how you're eating your food. One of the things that I think my whole family is actually pretty good at, and I know it's something that I've really mastered. Well, mastered is probably not the right word, because master would mean I do it all the time, and I definitely don't do it all the time. But it's the plate rule. It's making sure whatever food you're choosing to eat, you put it on a plate. It is pretty. It is something you're excited to eat. You don't want to eat out of a bag or out of a container or, haphazardly. You want to put it on a plate, no matter what it is. No matter what it is. Try to eat in a positive environment with people that you love. This is such an important one, and I don't think that we really think enough about this. But I believe where you eat is just as important as what you eat. I believe who you eat with is actually potentially more important than what you eat. While you're eating, how you feel makes a difference in how your body is going to process the food. I'm sure some people are more sensitive to this than others. I know I am particularly sensitive to this. This is not a great example, but it's the one that comes to mind. When my daughter was young, she was hard around meal times. That was like a bad time of day for her. And I didn't want to eat with her because it stressed me out. And I felt like when I was eating, I was anxious and I wasn't processing my food well. So sometimes I would just wait until after everyone ate and eat. That was a very, very short period of time. And I don't like to use that example anymore because it was so long ago. But it's just an example of you want to eat when you're calm. You want to eat when you're in a more relaxed state. You don't really want to eat when you're in an anxious state. So that might take some thought, and that might take creativity to kind of carve out those times like, okay, this is a really good time. But I really do think it's important, not just for weight management, but for just your general health on how your body is going to process that food. I believe food is medicine. I believe everything that we put into our body has potential for healing and has so much potential. I think food is truly such an important part of us. And I do believe that our environment and the people that we eat make a significant difference. So it's really important to think about those things. And then this is something that I personally always need to work on. And that's just making sure you're chewing your food properly. Like I can tend to eat, especially when I'm hungry, I can tend to eat fast. So create a rule around how much you want to chew your food, putting your fork down between bites, taking a sip of water, and how, just how long you want to take to eat. If you're eating your meal within like 2 or 3 minutes, and it's like a 400, 500 calorie meal, that's a lot for your body to process in a short amount of time. So ideally lengthening the amount of time that you're eating. And you might be like, okay, Kelly, that sounds great, but I've got kids and I've got work and I've got, my lunch is 2 minutes or whatever. Okay, great. But that's just something that I think will really help you if you try to designate a longer period of time to eat your food, even if it is maybe in front of your, like if you have your lunch and then you're like, okay, I need to get back to work, but I'm going to finish this while I'm doing whatever. I know that people would argue that that's the best thing, but I actually think that's better than like wolfing something down, just giving your body a little bit more time to process the food. Okay, well, there we have it. I thought I could do this a little bit shorter, but these are 5 tips to kickstart your health and fitness and things that you can start doing right away. And it doesn't matter what style of eating you do, what your personal diet is. These are tips that can apply to everybody. I would love to hear if you thought this was valuable, and if so, maybe what spoke to you the most. And I'd love to hear what you think you could start doing. Like, what's the one that spoke to you? What's one thing that you feel like, man, okay, I'm going to do that. That was a good one. Thank you guys so much for listening. Happy New Year. 2025 is going to be fire. We have to go into it with the best attitude and energy. Think about really how you want your year to feel, how you want your body to feel, how you want your body to function. And together, we're going to do great things. Talk to you soon, guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Start Before You're Ready. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend who might need a little motivation. Ready to start your own journey? Check out our workouts and nutrition coaching programs at kellysbootcamp.net. You can choose from in-person sessions or virtual programs. Set up a complimentary coaching session to get started. Follow along with me and the show on social media at Kellys_bootcamp. Until next time, this is Kelly Young reminding you that the best time to start is always now.